Usually with the videos that I make, I have a script and some form of outline, with what I'm going to say, delivery, or give it a certain amount of delivery. But, this time I'm going to, go off the cuff and really sort of, speak from the heart, I guess, about a particular film or even film series, for that matter, that I've loved for years and years. And I thought I'd, talk about it today because, well, I'm bored, it's late, and I can't sleep. There's some really terrible reasons to make a video, aren't they? When I'd heard of the Human Centipede film, I would have been a kid, so it would have been 2009 or 2010. I remember that because whenever it was like the weekend, I would stay up kind of late, and there was always a TV show on called 8 out of 10 Cats, and I remember on that one specific episode, they showed off the trailer for the movie, like little snippets of the trailer, because nobody could believe that this film was real, because who would want to watch a movie about a doctor sewing 3 people together? That's just ridiculous. What's the point of that? And I thought, oh my god, that's horrible. And I went back and watched the trailer for it, because back then it was, I wouldn't say a luxury, but it was like, oh my god, we're watching a video, like, and you prepare for it. And I felt, once I watched that trailer, I felt really ill. I never watched the first one until a couple of years later, because of just how, like, I had that weird sort of connection that it was going to make me feel ill. And I don't know why, but it just did. If that film came out, it was, silly, and it was a good bit of body horror, even though it wasn't very good. But when the Human Centipede 2 came out in 2011, I would have been 12. So, I will never forget, when I was younger, I used to subscribe to this, weekly, I forget what it's called now, because it's probably changed names, or, expired, or going out of business, but it was like a horror film club on Facebook. They would always give fluff pieces about certain movies that were coming out, and obviously at the time, Human Centipede film was, even the first one was still being talked about. But I remember the second one being talked about and rumoured that they were going to have, it was going to make it look like Teletubbies, or it was going to make it look like something completely tame to what was going to come next. And I guess Tom Six was kind of right, it is pretty grim. But anyways, I remember going, oh my god, they're going to have a serial killer play this character. It was all just nonsense, really, and I didn't understand why I believed it. I think that was really my lesson in life, to not be so gullible. And it's quite sad, I had to have the internet tell me not to be gullible. I remember going into school, because I had a little group of friends, we liked horror films, and we'd talk about it, going, oh, it was fucked that film is ever going to be made, ever, and, history would correct us that wasn't going to be the most fucked up film we were ever going to see. It was cool because we didn't know everything. We didn't know what movie was going to come out at that time, especially. We didn't know what movie was going to come out, so we just used our imaginations. I remember when I came in from school one afternoon, I remember my mum bursting into the front room, and she was like, oh, so-and-so from work says don't watch that film because it's absolutely horrific. So what, Human Centipede? And she goes, yeah, don't watch it, it's disgusting, I don't want you watching it. I'm going, okay, big sort of smile, I'm not going to watch it, I promise. And I'd let her down by watching it illegally online for free. But seriously, I think that was really one of the movies that caused a lot of hysteria and a lot of hullabaloo. Really, that was really, when it released and when it dropped, it was very controversial for the time. And I'll never forget, on the weekends, I'd go out to town with some friends, and we'd go get a McDonald's and look at films we couldn't buy because we were too young to buy the movies. And I remember seeing the Human Centipede 2 movie. I thought, oh my god, it's out. I had no idea it was out yet because, I was too dumb to look up release dates, and I didn't really think of that at the time. You just go into a shop, oh, it's there. Oh wow. It's just recording a minute. It is. And I remember looking in, it was just, they were underneath the shelf, they were just stacked up because they weren't shifting them, no one was buying them. I think people were kind of scared of the film, to be honest, or they didn't want to seem or bring shame to the family, I suppose. But I remember hearing things about that movie, it's been banned in 50 countries, which is quite funny. The UK banned it, even though it was made in the UK. Isn't that funny? Yeah, it was shot in the UK, which I'm quite proud of, that we can make such filth, or contribute to such filth, you know, known as art. But dude, I remember this movie just causing such controversy. Okay, so it was banned in Australia, New Zealand, the UK, America, you know, welcomed it with open arms. But I remember just hearing the hysteria. Oh my god, it's like the most sick movie ever made. It shouldn't be seen, and I remember hearing all that, and I remember like feeling kind of scared of it, intimidated. But when you watch the movie, it's all right. It's not. It's definitely horrible, but it's not what the people were saying it was. I also thought that was clever because, you know, it needed, you know, any publicity is good publicity, I suppose. That was their mentality. But when I watched it on a free movie site, I'll never forget. It was horrible. I remember watching it. It was horrible. I should have been watching it, really. But you know what I mean? Like, you know, I'm 12. I should be watching things like that, and I didn't understand it. And it was disturbing, and I felt ill, and I felt, oh my god, all these horrible emotions, and I'm gonna be, I thought I was gonna be arrested for watching it. At the time, I think, that's just stupid, isn't it? You'd be a young kid. I remember that, and I remember watching it, and I told my friends, and it was kind of like, oh, you watched it? And I thought, well, yeah, I watched it. Oh yeah, what happens in it then? I'm like, well, have you seen it? Like, yeah. And it was kind of a thing of like, oh, wait, go on and tell me what happens. And I mentioned the whole thing with the baby being born and his head being crushed, and like, oh, because they made up that they'd seen it. And I kind of called them out on their shit. It has a special place in my heart for trash cinema, because it is trash. And I think it knows that it's not going to be prolific or groundbreaking, but it definitely raises the bar for, you know, gross and horrible cinema. I'm proud that it was even made in the UK. I can't believe this movie was made in the UK, honestly, because, you know, I think anybody with a stable mind wouldn't even touch that with a 50-foot barge pole. But what's even funnier is we have in the UK, for rating systems, especially for films, we have the BBFC, and they obviously, you know, they look over, you know, what films can be rated. And I remember hearing that it got 32 cuts before it was released. It had to have 32 cuts before it was put into, I guess, cinemas or on DVD in the UK. And they said, because it's so gory, they have to put it in black and white to tone down the gore. That was, whoever decided on that needs to be fired, because you made it worse. They really did, because it looks worse in black and white, because color. I saw the trailer for it in color. But yeah, man, it was one of those times in cinema we're never gonna get again, where something's so, you know, panned and hated by everybody. And, you know, it's in a good way, I suppose. But it was exciting, because we didn't know what it was going to be about, because we obviously were too young. But it was exciting, and I kind of miss that with cinema now. That's why it's got a very deep place in my heart, really. And especially with the third one as well. I remember that's one of the movies that taught me how to not take cinema too seriously and take things too seriously, especially with the second one, because they're both graphic in their own ways, but they're both ridiculous, and the first one's ridiculous as well. But yeah, especially, you know, I especially with my Q&A I did, it was my gateway into trash and gross cinema, so I owe it, you know, a little salute, I suppose, because of that. But yeah, that's about it, I guess. So yeah, thanks for listening to me ramble for 10 minutes or so. Do like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you again. Thank you.